I was afraid to return to church because of guilt, but I found a way to overcome it. Here's how. If you've been feeling the weight of guilt for stepping away from your faith, you're not alone. So many of us struggle with that inner voice, feeling that maybe we're not good enough to come back, that the church's doors are closed to those who've strayed. But here's a truth you might not have heard enough. Guilt doesn't mean you've lost your chance. In fact, it might be the very sign that something deeper is calling you back. So today, let's explore what it means to come home again, not as someone perfect, but as someone willing to take that first step, embrace forgiveness, and rebuild faith one day at a time. This isn't about getting it all right or fixing the past. It's about rediscovering a love that's been waiting for you all along. Some people say guilt is like a heavy stone in the heart, something you feel with each step back toward the church. It's that whisper telling you you're not worthy or that you've wandered too far. And yet, we know that guilt, although uncomfortable, often means we recognize what we've lost. In a strange way, guilt can be the signpost pointing us back to where we need to go. Instead of ignoring it, it can help to sit with it and reflect. Why does it hurt? What is it telling you? This process might feel vulnerable, but it's a first step in the journey back. When someone returns to church, they might feel that every eye sees their shortcomings. But in reality, guilt over past decisions often blinds us to the compassion that truly fills a community of faith. Imagine a friend confiding in you about a time they let others down. You'd likely listen with empathy, wouldn't you? This is how others often view us too. Sometimes, imagining the forgiveness we'd extend to a friend can help us see how the church, our extended family, views us as well, ready to welcome us back with open arms. Guilt, surprisingly, often has a purpose. In many ways, it shows us how much we valued what we stepped away from. The church teachings, especially writings from saints like St. Augustine, often speak to the ache of separation from faith. Augustine wrote of feeling restless until he was back with God. Guilt can mirror that restlessness, reminding us of something deeper we yearn for, not as punishment, but as a kind of guide. Recognizing this purpose allows guilt to transform from a burden into a bridge, an invitation rather than a condemnation. Think of guilt as a tool, not a wall. When used wisely, it's a tool that carves a path forward. The stories of others who left and returned often reflect this. Guilt may be part of their journey, but it's never the destination. After all, the church is not a museum for the perfect, but a home for those finding their way. Returning with guilt in tow can be intimidating, but each step toward the door also brings us closer to peace. And with that first step comes a question. What lies ahead if we keep going? Forgiving oneself can feel like an uphill climb, especially when the mistakes seem to echo louder than the hope of mercy. But in faith, forgiveness isn't earned. It's a gift already waiting for us. God's mercy, as many church teachings remind us, is abundant and unending. In moments of doubt, it can help to remember the countless parables where Jesus showed compassion to those who strayed, calling them back without hesitation. Think of it this way. If forgiveness were a mountain, God has already paved a path to the top. All He's waiting for is our willingness to walk it. People often underestimate the role of self-forgiveness. It's like we can believe God has forgiven us, but struggle to forgive ourselves. Take a moment to think about Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends, who denied knowing Him 3 times. Peter wept bitterly afterward, yet Christ's first message to him was one of love and reassurance. Just like Peter, we can feel crushed by our own failings, yet God's grace is a reminder that His love remains stronger than any mistake. Self-forgiveness, then, becomes our way of fully accepting God's gift, not holding back because of our own hesitation. Forgiving ourselves isn't about letting ourselves off the hook, it's about freedom. Holding on to guilt can feel like clinging to chains that have already been broken. A powerful way to ease this process is through prayer or confession, which Catholics have used for centuries as a way to lay burdens down. These aren't just rituals, but acts that mirror our internal journey, a choice to surrender, release, and truly let go. Confession can often be a way to physically and spiritually unload the guilt we carry, and many find that afterward, they feel a peace that goes beyond words. Sometimes, forgiving ourselves starts with small, daily affirmations. Perhaps it's a prayer each morning asking for strength, or a quiet acknowledgement each evening that you're taking steps forward. Forgiving yourself might not happen all at once, but each day, with patience, it can become a little easier. After all, faith teaches us that even if we stumble, it's the commitment to keep moving forward that truly counts. When we forgive ourselves, we free our hearts to experience God's love more fully, making space for a new beginning. Reconnecting with faith doesn't have to be a leap. It can be a series of small, intentional steps. Sometimes, people think they need a profound experience to return to the church, but often it starts with the simplest of acts. Maybe it's a quiet moment in prayer before bed, or reading a few verses from the Bible in the morning. Like any relationship, your connection to God strengthens over time, and every small action you take is like a building block in that relationship. Just as we build friendships or skills through consistency, rebuilding faith happens little by little, step by step. Another great step is finding a sense of community, whether it's through a parish group, a Bible study, or even volunteering. Many people who come back to the church find comfort in others who face similar struggles. There's something about shared faith experiences that makes it easier to open up. Imagine sharing a coffee with someone who gets it. The challenges, the doubts, the hope. Through these connections, the church becomes not just a place but a family that supports, listens, and helps each person on their journey. It's a reminder that we're not meant to walk this road alone. Reading or listening to spiritual literature can also nurture your faith journey. Works by authors like Fulton Sheen or C.S. Lewis explore faith with an honesty that can feel refreshing, even for those who've been away. For example, Sheen's writings often touch on practical, relatable faith challenges, while Lewis's works break down complex beliefs into understandable terms. Even reading a daily devotional or an inspiring saint's story can provide moments of clarity and motivation. These resources can make the journey back to faith feel less intimidating and more like reconnecting with something beautifully familiar. Lastly, give yourself grace as you rebuild. No one's faith is perfect, and everyone faces times of doubt or distance. Just as life has its ups and downs, so does our faith. Some days you might feel incredibly connected, and other days you may struggle. And that's okay. In fact, it's part of the human experience of faith. When we stop expecting ourselves to be flawless, we open ourselves to experiencing God's love even more deeply. The key isn't perfection but persistence, faithfully placing one foot in front of the other, trusting that God is walking alongside us with every step. Faith isn't a straight path. It's more of a winding journey, and every turn, even the detours, has value. Many who return to the church realize they're not here to meet a standard of perfection but to connect with God as they are, imperfections and all. The Bible is full of stories about people who struggled, doubted, and failed yet found their way to God's love. Think of King David, who made countless mistakes, or the prodigal son, welcomed back without question. These stories remind us that faith isn't about getting it right all the time. It's about being open, honest, and persistent on our journey. When you let go of perfection, you'll find that faith feels more freeing. Rather than focusing on doing it all perfectly, focus on what brings you closer to God day by day. Maybe one day it's prayer, another day it's an act of kindness, and another it's simply acknowledging His presence. Embracing imperfection allows us to see faith as a relationship, one that grows naturally over time. Just as we wouldn't expect a plant to bloom overnight, we shouldn't expect our faith to mature instantly. What matters is that we're nurturing it, giving it space to grow even in small ways. Sometimes, letting go of perfection also means allowing yourself to question and wrestle with doubts. Doubt isn't the opposite of faith, it's often part of it. Saints, philosophers, and believers throughout history have faced moments of questioning. St. John of the Cross, for instance, wrote about his dark night of a soul where he felt distant from God yet continued to seek Him. Questions and struggles can actually deepen our faith, giving us a stronger, more grounded relationship with God. So if you're feeling uncertain, remember, it's all part of the journey, and God's love remains constant. As you embrace this journey, trust that God is delighted in your steps, however small or uncertain they may feel. He doesn't demand perfection but faithfulness. Each time you come to Him, whether in prayer, reflection, or simply a quiet thought, you're strengthening that bond. So, take heart and know that God sees the beauty in your journey, even the messy parts. Letting go of perfection is a powerful step toward a more fulfilling faith, one that grows with you, meets you where you are, and brings you closer to the peace and love He offers. As you reflect on everything we've discussed, ask yourself this: what would your life look like if you let go of guilt and step back into your faith as you are with all your questions and imperfections? Remember, God's love isn't waiting on your perfection. It's here now, inviting you forward with each step you take. If you're carrying guilt, consider starting small. Maybe with a daily prayer, reaching out to a friend in faith, or even reading a passage from the Bible. Each act, no matter how small, opens the door a bit wider, inviting you to rediscover the peace that comes with a faith-filled life. Ready to take your faith journey to the next level? Get your copy of the Yearly Prayer and Reflection Journal today and experience the power of daily prayer, reflection, and spiritual growth. Whether you're seeking a deeper connection with God, looking for guidance, or simply need a source of encouragement, this journal is your perfect companion. Don't wait. Start your transformative journey now, and let God's Word shape your life one day at a time. Click the link in the comments and begin living a more purposeful, faith-filled year. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to keep learning and growing in faith together. This journey is just beginning, and there's so much more ahead.